Manish Mehta is a New York Daily News writer, covers the Jets and does it very, very well. Sometimes he gets scolded by Rex Ryan and company and fellow media members, but kind enough to join us now. And we got news here as Geno Smith is your starter for week one. What was plan B? If you didn't go with Geno Smith, who was going to get the start, Manish?
Yeah, I don't think there was a plan B. Certainly after Mark Sanchez hurt his shoulder, which is an injury that's expected to keep him out at least for the first two games, because the Jets have a quick turnaround after that first game. They play on Thursday night against the Patriots. So the only other options were Matt Sims, who has never started a game in his career, or Brady Quinn, who they just signed a few days ago. So there were no other options. It was pretty obvious. I think people have known for the past several days that Geno Smith was going to be the guy. The big question right now is whether Rex Ryan will say that Geno is the starter for the remainder of the season, because I think at this point that probably makes the most sense. I don't really see much sense in going back to Mark Sanchez if and when he becomes healthy.
But I don't even know if it was going to be Mark's team. I think they wanted Geno in there. I think when you bring in a new GM, and it just felt like this was a tap on the shoulder to say, guys, you're here in these positions, but don't get comfortable that you bring in Geno Smith, you spend a second-round draft pick. I guess, what is Sanchez's future with the team, if he has any?
Well, first and foremost, I completely agree with you. This open and fair competition that they've been trotting out for a month, I think was a charade, and I agree that Giants obviously wanted Geno Smith to be the starter. He drafted him in the second round. He needs to see if Geno is going to be a franchise quarterback this season before they determine whether they should go after a Teddy Bridgewater or Taj Boyd or whoever in the draft next year. So I totally agree with you on that point. As far as Sanchez's future goes, I was told that the Brady Quinn signing obviously makes it tenuous whether Sanchez will be around this season. They haven't discussed the real possibility of putting Sanchez on IR or cutting him, but they haven't taken that off the table yet either. So
Wow.
I think they're going to see how Geno does over the next few weeks and how Brady Quinn does in terms of adapting the Marty Morningwig system. If both of them are doing well, I would not rule out the possibility that Sanchez would be cut at some point.
Why the outrage on Rex Ryan going Saturday to see his son, a walk-on wide receiver at Clemson, and not being there, I guess, for the final cutdown day?
Well, Dan, here's what I'll say, and I've said this as long as I've known Rex Ryan. He's been a terrific father to his son, Seth. He's got two sons, Seth and Peyton. Seth lived with him in New Jersey, went to Summit High School, which is right by the Jets facility, and by all accounts, he has done a terrific job balancing fatherhood and his job. My question was that the game was at 8:30 at night. Rex, I guess, is not obligated to talk to the guys he's going to cut and tell them face-to-face. I thought that was the right thing to do. But there was ample opportunity. He has the resources. The Jets have the resources so that Rex could have been in the building and addressed the players that he was going to part ways with, the guys who he admittedly said, gave everything for him and deserve an opportunity, in my mind, to at least have a farewell from their head coach. I think there was ample opportunity to take care of those responsibilities at the facility on Saturday and still get down in time for kickoff, spend time with the son afterwards. I don't understand how tailgating 8 or 9 hours before kickoff has anything to do with being a good father. And I would never question his loyalty to his family. Obviously, that matters. But this is a big day for head coaches. It's not an off day. Cutdown day is not an off day for head coaches. Head coaches around the league, people around the league that I've spoken to, take this day very seriously. And if he wanted to spend some time with his son and watch the game, I completely understand that. He would not have been involved in the waiver discussions now on Saturday night, but at least he would have opportunity to talk to the guys that he was going to let go. He said he spoke to several of them, but I know for a fact that he did not speak to a lot of them, and I think that was the most disappointing part from my end. But again, it's not life or death, and I know that he's been a terrific father to his kids.
Yeah, but does this mean he's losing interest? I know you didn't write the headline, but it says that he's losing interest and influence. I agree with the influence part, but how can you say, that's a pretty big leap of faith, isn't it, that he goes to that game that he's lost interest in coaching the Jets?
Well, I don't think he's lost interest in coaching the Jets. And as I wrote, I think that clearly his sphere of influence, as you just touched on, has been diminished. And that's what I was told. Rex Ryan is a competitor. If you ask him, even in a private moment, he probably thinks the Jets are going to go, 14-2. But all I can control is what I wrote, and I wrote that I believe that his influence in the organization has been greatly diminished.
Oh, he's been neutered. There's no question about that, Manish.
Well, that's one that's one way to put it. I think the sad part of this, Dan, is that just knowing Rex Ryan over the last 5 years, he's really a shell of his former self publicly. Publicly, he's not the same brash, confident, entertaining guy that he was back in '09 to 2010. And it's kind of sad on some levels. I mean, got to keep it in perspective, of course, but there's an air of paranoia. There's an air of secrecy around the building that didn't exist, in the last 3 or 4 years. I think that's a direct reflection on the new general manager, John Idzik, who, by all accounts, from people that I've spoken to that know John Idzik and that have worked with John Idzik, he's an aloof, stubborn guy. He tells people the bare minimum, not very inclusive at all. And I think you're seeing that at these Rex Ryan press conferences, because let's be honest, does Rex Ryan really care about withholding the week 1 starter as long as the Jets did? Obviously not. He would have told us last week it was up to him that Geno Smith was going to be the starter. This is a directive from above.
Good to visit with you, bud. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, man. Take care.
All right. Manish Mehta, New York Daily News.
The Dan Patrick Show, weekday mornings on Audience.